So this is Eric Ward. I'm Jay Landry, and Eric is going to kick off Sports Talk.
All right, man. We're here for Mike Sports. We've been threatening this for a couple of weeks. We're here now, and let's hope that at least for now, we've got the glitches out of the way. We've got somebody who's done these things a time or two. I mean, me and Ryan, we've done our own thing, and technical difficulties has kind of been part of our, I guess, kind of our charm would be the way to call it.
Yeah, right.
People kind of tune in just
you
to
guys
laugh.
have mostly run a Facebook show, and YouTube, being the second largest visited website in the world, they put a little more time and a little more effort to making it kind of seamless where you don't have to do a lot of work. You just click and go.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I'm a proponent for as little effort as possible. Like that's like my goal. Like if we're going to get into sports talk here now for a second, like one of my goals in life is we all know how little Sam Bradford did as a player and how much money he made.
Right.
My goal in life to make as much money as Sam Bradford by doing less.
Exactly. Well, he didn't make a lot of money, and he didn't do a lot. So if you're going to do less than Sam Bradford, well, shit, you ain't doing nothing tonight.
Right? And I mean, hey, look at it. Right now, I'm sitting here in a recliner. I'm talking sports with one of my best friends for a long time. And I've been really excited. We've been wanting to do this, basically for as long as I can remember. We talk sports probably more than anybody I've ever talked to. And for us having some different, let's just call them ideologies. Right. You know, you being a Cowboy fan, me being an Eagle fan. But this isn't going to be focused on our rivalry. This is going to be all-encompassing.
Yeah, and sure, that'll come up from time to time. I mean, we'll go to war from time to time, but overall, the idea is to talk about all of the NFL because, let's face it, as much as we love the Eagles and the Cowboys, there's a hell of a lot more going on across the league than there is with just our two teams.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of this show is to be more encompassing of everything. And so I want to get right into it. It was a couple of weeks ago, the announcement of the Oakland Raiders being on Hard Knocks. Right. And very excited about that. You know, we always look forward to that. That means we got football coming. That means real live action is coming. And this is just like the precursor. This is that little sampler you get at the beginning.
Yeah, what are we a month and 10 days away?
Yeah.
From the what is it? Who's playing? Is it Denver?
No, it's Green Bay, Chicago in the opener.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And let's see, we got who's our first preseason game though?
Oh, maybe that's the Denver and
yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Let me see who I got. I got August 1st. I got Broncos Falcons, right. NBC 7 p.m. Thursday Night Football. Remember, Thursday night's always the real kickoff now.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, you know. It was always Sunday night for the Hall of Fame game, but then Thursday night was the national opener. I think they decided, hey, you know what? We do the national opener on Thursday night. We'll do the first preseason game on Thursday night, which I think it's a cool little thing, you know.
Right.
Just keeping everything seamless.
Well, and it's kind of crazy because, you think, if the NFL learned anything, is that a little drama goes a long way, and I think that's why we're going to have the Raiders on Hard Knocks. You got blonde mustache and John Gruden. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
That's a good damn mix for me to be entertained. And I'm all about other people's drama at their expense. So I'm like totally down for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. Drama at other people's expense. And especially, I just think that whole situation in Oakland, it's going to be interesting to watch because that's a team. We've seen the Rams in Hard Knocks when they were making the move to Los Angeles. This is sort of that pre-move because they have a move coming to Las Vegas.
Right.
And we're going to get to kind of see what that last preseason in Oakland is going to be like. Look, the city of Oakland isn't exactly known for always staying classy. So I think it could be an interesting year for the Raiders there in Oakland. I'll tell you, it's not an enviable situation, knowing you're going to lose your team. Like, as, me and Eagles fan, you a Cowboy, like if this was us, like I can only imagine the outrage we would have right now.
Yeah.
And it's like you're asking us to go out and support a team that we know, no matter what, is not going to be here next year.
Well, what's weird is what were they? The LA Raiders in the 80s,
Right.
Oakland Raiders in the 90s and 2000s. Now they're going to be the Las Vegas. Next thing you know, we're going to have, the Chinese Raiders at some point. But, the Raiders crack me up because, first of all, their owner has a bowl haircut. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but when you get a bowl haircut, I can never take you seriously. I'll tell you, you got a fucking bowl haircut. It looks like you're Dutch from the 1800s. I mean, I don't know what you do with that. But what I will say about the Raiders is the best thing they did, and a lot of people think they're crazy, but I think getting John Gruden locked into such a long-term deal, it's the first time in a long time that a coach, I think, can really sit down and go, I really can build a team. Not build them and then someone change their attitude in 2 years and be like, nah, you're out. And I'm sure maybe there's somewhere in his legal clause that if he doesn't, X amount of things happen within 4 years or something, that they get to renegotiate his, remaining 6 years on his 10-year contract or whatever. But the point is that we've never seen a commitment to a coach like this before.
Right. Yeah. Normally it's, 3 to 5 years is the commitment level. And it's basically, if it's a 5-year deal, after 4 years, they usually make their decision and either cut the cord or give you an extension. This is a case where the Raiders are basically saying, we already know. We don't need the 3-year tryout or the 4-year tryout to know whether or not we want to keep him. We know this is our guy, and we're moving forward with him. And some people like that idea. And, some people like John. It all depends on how much you like John Gruden. And if you believe in him, and if you're a Raiders fan, I think you have to. Because, what's your choice?
Right. If you had to rate John Gruden on a coaching scale of 10 being, Bill Belichick and 1 being some guy I've never heard of that coached the team at some time is no longer there, where would you put him at? If I had to vote John Gruden on a coaching scale, I put him at about 6. And people might be astonished.
I was 5. Yeah.
You put him at a 5? Okay, yeah. Because I know he got 1 Super Bowl, but he did inherit an infrastructure already built by Tony Dungy that I will give him credit. He did take it a step further than it could go with Tony Dungy. But the fact is, there was already previous infrastructure there.
And the only reason why I give him some cachet there is the team that he beat in that Super Bowl was a team that he built to get there.
Right.
So it's like, the team that he built before got there with a coach who I think we could agree is a 1 or a 2 on that coaching ranking in Callahan. And they got to Super Bowl. And then, I mean, that Super Bowl was just an absolute beatdown. But
Callahan, didn't he destroy Nebraska and the Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He was like, hey, forget about this Scott Frost, Tommy Frazier legacy. Let me show you what it's like to have a losing legacy.
Yeah, I think that guy has more victims than Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'd be willing to bet that somewhere in his life after coaching the Raiders, he had a bowl haircut temporarily somewhere. He was he stayed home for 8 weeks and gave himself. He did like the Britney Spears thing. He just didn't film it. Like shaved his head, then did a bowl haircut or some shit.
Right.
But I think so. Okay, so obviously we know who the big drama maker is, who everybody's gonna be looking for in Hard Knocks. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to see blonde mustache. We want to see how is he gonna act. Is he gonna bitch and complain and act like he did when he was on the Steelers, or is he gonna be like, I'm going to show the world by being like such a good teammate and such a good person on the Raiders and watch us take them down? If you had to predict in your mind when you think the Raiders will actually have, or if, I guess I should ask really, sustained success, are you going with, I think they'll have a 7-win season, next season? Or are you going to go with the Hard Knocks curse and nope, you're going to win 3 games because you're on Hard Knocks?
I don't think it has anything to do with the Hard Knocks curse, but I think they're only winning 3 or 4 games. That team's just not good. Derek Carr hasn't been the same since he came back from his ACL injury.
Yeah.
I
have to agree.
He hasn't been the same, and I don't think without a quarterback, no matter what your opinion is of John Gruden, I just don't think that the Raiders can do very much because they're so lacking at such an important position. And there are 2 teams right there in that division, the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, who are primed for Super Bowl runs.
Man, I don't know. No matter what anybody says, I'm sorry. I'm never going to be able to buy into the Chargers. I just can't. There's something about every year here. This is the year they got the right tools. Rivers is on fire. And then when it comes down to brass tacks, the Chargers fold like fucking hot laundry. I don't know what their deal is. It's like they're a permanent lawn chair.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that in the playoffs. But during the regular season, which is when they'll be playing the
okay,
Raiders,
fair enough on that point.
That's where the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Okay. Like, yeah, I thought we're talking like overall. Well, you mentioned Super Bowl, and when you say Super Bowl and the Chargers,
but those are two teams.
Yeah, when you say Super Bowl and the Chargers, I go into that. Oh, the Browns got Odell Beckham and Baker. They're going to the Super Bowl. What? Like I go into that. Okay, everybody, calm down. Like we'll talk about the Browns.
And that is what everybody. That's what everybody out there. That's what we call a segue in this business. So we're gonna.
Yeah, remember I run a life coach. I run a life coach channel, and my background is psychology. So I often look at the fanaticism in the fans' psychology, and I separate myself. And that includes my Cowboys fans, my fellow Cowboys fans. And I often have to, when they're not looking, use a Pez machine to throw Valium into their mouth to calm them the F down. Because until we fire Jason Garrett, there is no Super Bowl. And I will repeat that until he's fired.
Okay. All right. I get you.
Segue.
I get you. That's good work there. See, this is why you and I, this is why we communicate so well.
Yeah. I take the fanatic out of fan. That's what I do. Yeah. I'm a pragmatist, realist sports guy. I love my Cowboys to death. Yes, I still go outside and I act like Troy Aikman is still my quarterback. And I act like when the ball gets thrown, when Dak throws it, that Irvin is somewhere out there doing coke or whatever he does on the field, but he'll still catch it. And I remind myself to hate the Eagles because they were so mean to Michael Irvin when he was injured. And people are like, that never happened. And I tell people, but in Cowboy world, it really did, because we all believe him doing coke was a result of the pressure from the Eagles fans.
Okay.
Staying realistic here. Sticking with logic. Yeah. Sticking with logic.
Absolutely. I hear the logic raining through there.
That's right. I mean, look, I don't have a microphone for nothing. I've been talking, I do a political show. I do a psychology show. I even do a show that talks about aliens and stuff and ghosts and, kind of like Coast to Coast AM and whatnot. And now I'm doing a sports show. I have so much to bring to sports. It's unbelievable.
I need to be on that Coast to Coast type show with you sometime. We can talk some ghosts.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff, man. Because somewhere out there, we know Walter Payton is still running around the damn field like a ghost. So I even bring up football players on a ghost show.
Well, I mean, naturally, you have to.
Yeah. Walter Payton's like, you can take my liver, but you can't take my spirit, mofo. Yeah, no, I agree though. I think, when every year, me and you, obviously, we talk about who we think should be on Hard Knocks, and often we never get the team we want. This year, I felt like I got the team I want. I want to see the Raiders.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is one I wanted to see. I want to see what Mike Mayock's going to be like on there, the GM.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan of his, watching him on the NFL Network. And so I'm curious to watch the behind the scenes, how he runs that front office. There's a lot about it I'm very curious about, like what a John Gruden practice really looks like. I want to see all of it, and I'm excited to watch it. I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining Hard Knocks.
I hope so. First of all, I think John Gruden handles. And I'm curious because every time I hear about Hard Knocks, you hear a couple different things. You hear the owner is okay with it and the coach isn't. Or, the GM wanted it and the coach didn't, vice versa, whatnot. I feel like John Gruden, because he has such a long rope to work this whole system out, I think he's okay with it.
Yeah, I would think he'd be the one that's more likely to be okay with it. I think Mike Mayock's the one who's probably very resistant to this.
And you got Antonio Brown, who wants Hard Knocks.
Mike Mayock does not want any of the Antonio Brown stuff out there.
Antonio Brown's like, give me a chance to pick on another rookie wide receiver somewhere. Just give me a chance. Give me a chance for someone I mentored to put them down for not supporting me when I put down a quarterback who is not currently on my team. Give me a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you and I talked at length on the phone about the the state of the Steelers. Is this a year you think that they take a step back with this whole? I mean, the Antonio Brown
Yeah.
thing, Le'Veon Bell. You lose two of your big playmakers, and I know Le'Veon wasn't there this past year, but that whole saga has to wear on a locker room.
Sure.
Do
And
you
I
think
think it all goes with your
you think Mike Tomlin
philosophy.
might be losing?
Yeah, I think it all goes with your philosophy. So you can be like the Cowboys, where you had Jimmy Johnson, who had a psychology degree, so he didn't care about having crazy players with, vibrant personalities because he knew how to deal with that. I don't think the Steelers are built for that. I think the Steelers have slowly looked like they were built for that because they're slowly eroding. And that made everybody think that's how they run the show. No, I don't think they ever wanted to run the show like that. I think it just slowly became like that. And, I think what you're seeing now is them trying to rubber band a knee jerk to it and say, whoa, we let it go too far. Now we need to fix that. And you're seeing all these knee jerk reactions. Now, would I have let Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown go? I would have. I'm a system guy over players.
Sure.
And that's just me. I think more teams should become like that because I think we'll have more uniform success in the NFL if we become more systematic than about players, but we'll also lose some of that pizzazz of, like the NBA has the slam dunkers and the major 3-point shooters and the guys who can do it. You want the drama queens in there because they make good for good entertainment, but it's obvious the teams that go to the Super Bowl and win don't seem to be the teams for the divas.
Sure.
So I would say the Steelers did the right thing in the long term. I think in the short term, I have to agree with you. I think if you're saying, I do think they took a step back. It'll be a short-term step back, but what's Le'Veon Bell going to do on the Jets, man?
Oh, I know. I just
his talent's gone.
You could put the greatest star in the history of the National Football League. Whoever that is, whether it be Jerry Rice in his prime, whomever, you could put them on the New York Jets, they will become average. Right. It's like that's where NFL careers go to die.
Yeah, let's just throw an example out there. Darrelle Revis went to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and then he went back to the Jets for the paycheck. Shitty teams pay big dollars, but you ain't going to the Super Bowl, but you're going to make big dollars.
Yeah, the old joke was with Neil O'Donnell when he had, those couple interceptions in the Super Bowl against the Cowboys. Had such a bad experience in the Super Bowl, decided he never wanted to go back, so he signed with the Jets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't heard that name in a long time. In fact, I think I looked up some images of him not too long ago. But, if I look at the NFL as a whole, and the name of this broadcast today is the state of the NFL before we jump into preseason, like where we're all at kind of in general. We can talk about OTAs and everything like that, but I think I always like to say, look, when I watch these broadcasts on ESPN and whatnot, and they go through every team I'm like, come on, man, we're going to talk about the Jets. Why? They're irrelevant. Let's talk about the teams that we think let's talk about the 8 teams who we actually think are going to be fighting for the Super Bowl. Other than that, like, unless someone has domestic violence or there's a shooting incident, why are they even making a headline? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like,
waste our time. There's only so much time in a broadcast.
Right.
Don't waste any of your conversation on the Jets.
We're not NFL Live. We're not looking for equality of teams. I'm looking for the stories that matter because they're going to matter in the actual season. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles. Everybody's like, oh, what about the Redskins? I'm sorry. Probably not. Let's talk about the Giants. Nope. The Giants have become the Jets. They have a couple of really good stars, but they're not going anywhere. And who would have thought, if you would have took us back 4 years ago, when the Cowboys started every season playing the Giants, and it was always like a 1-point game for like 4 years in a row. Right. Now, when we're going to play the Giants, we're worried from a systematic standpoint that they're going to match up good. But overall, when it comes to the record, who's going to playoffs, even if we lose, we're like, we ain't going to see you later anyways. So we're like, we don't care anymore, and that's what I mean by let's talk about the teams that matter, because I don't care about the teams that, even if they can beat my team, that doesn't mean they're going to be there long-term.
So we're going to go into a big Bills breakdown now.
Yeah. Let's concentrate on Buffalo and that damn kick missing the Super Bowl wide right. That's what matters.
Oh, how do you miss that kick?
Yeah. So let's talk. So the Eagles are an obvious contender. If you had to pick an Eagles right now, if you had to say, what do you think the record will be? Who do you think in the end is going to be the MVP for your team this year, not counting your quarterback? Because I think it's easy to always pick your quarterback on your team. And if you had to say, who do you think they face if you believe they make it to the championship game?
Okay. I think 12-4, 13-3 is realistic for the Eagles.
I think 12 for sure.
Yeah.
Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I mean, just saying 12,
I think they're going to have 12.
Sure. Yeah. And by the way, I think the Cowboys are going to be right there contending with them for the division. I see
a 10 win season for the Cowboys, but I think because of the rest of the competition, it's just not going to be that good. That's why we'll end up probably playing you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's going to come down probably to the Eagles Cowboys I think that could be an NFC title game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm discounting the Saints because in my opinion, the mental stamp that they tried to shoot for last year by feeling so cheated, I actually think that does them a disservice, and I think mentally they don't recoup from that, in my opinion.
I agree. I think they kind of have the hangover that most Super Bowl losing teams have.
Yeah. Right.
Is where,
I think they're an 8-win team. That's what I would guess. I think they're going to have 8 wins.
And I think the NFC South is very underrated. I think Atlanta could easily be a very good team. I think Carolina can be sneaky good because, it depends on whether or not you get good Cam or bad Cam. If you get good Cam, I mean, they could be 11, 12-win team. You get bad Cam, they could be a 5-win team.
Atlanta's funny. Atlanta reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning and the Colts. They run a system.
Yeah.
It's architected a certain style, but if you're one of the teams that can throw that architecture off, then they kind of fold. But most teams have a hard time doing that when they're on their dime, and then they play a good defense like the Eagles or like the Cowboys or like the Saints, and those are the teams that can throw that architecture off. But if they're on top of their architecture and you don't have enough pressure on Matty Ice, then they kind of fall apart. Like, when I think when it comes to Atlanta, they're permanently going to be burned with that freaking branding of losing that Super Bowl the way they did.
28.
And I think unless Matty Ice can prove otherwise, I just think they're always going to be that team that just can't do it. They can't get over that hump.
Yeah, I think now, the only thing that saves his reputation of a choke artist is he has to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Just like Donovan McNabb had that reputation here in Philly, even though, he had a lot of regular season success and even some playoff success.
Yeah.
He couldn't get over that final hump. And when he got there and then couldn't deliver, and the way with the whole dry heaving and did he throw up or didn't he throw up in the Super Bowl, it kind of became, okay, you have to win one in order to shed that label. And he never did. And I think Matt Ryan's kind of in that same boat. He's got to win one to shed that label.
So right now I would even say I think Atlanta will have a better record than the Saints.
I do too. I think Atlanta could win that division very easily.
I think Atlanta is one of those teams where you just kind of don't pay enough attention to them, so you underestimate them a little bit. So during the regular season, they kind of creep up on you, and then in the playoffs, you take them seriously, and that's why you can beat them.
They're one of those teams. I think they easily go 6-2, 7-1 at home.
Yeah.
And then it's just, can they find a way to get 3 or 4 wins on the road, and then they win a division and they get some home playoff games. And then they probably end up having to go on the road to either say a Philly or even a Dallas, depending on who wins the East.
Where do you put Green Bay in all this?
Green Bay, I don't think they're a hard team to read.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, do you think with the new coaching and the new offensive scheme, do you think Rodgers is going to get unleashed a little more and be a little more productive?
I think it's all going to come down to if he buys into the new system.
I don't think he has a choice, in my opinion, because if he doesn't, he officially looks like the problem.
Yeah, and I think it could easily be. I'm starting to become one of those, and you know me, I was one of those that went to the matches saying Aaron Rodgers is one of the top quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah.
And talent-wise, he is. But I just,
well, he's in the top 10 all time, to me, period. But as far as his current productivity, he's kind of looking like a Karl Malone on the Utah Jazz. He's really good. He keeps getting really good and having these moments, but it's just not happening overall.
Yeah, I look at him, and a lot of his teammates have come out and after they've left, talking about how he's kind of an a-hole. and I and
Kinda, dude. My girlfriend watches him on TV, and the first thing she said, she'd never seen this guy. She goes, "He kind of looks like an asshole." And I was like, you're not the first woman I think to think that about Aaron Rodgers. Olivia Munn,
yeah.
hashtag. And look, we all get ex-girlfriends. If they're an ex, that means they're probably not going to have the best opinion in the world about you. But I mean, I when she was watching TV right here on the TV behind me, I'm up in my media room. I'm normally in my office in my other videos, but so my setting will probably be different at some point when we're talking. But she was watching the game. I was teaching her the positions. I was teaching her who this is the Cowboys, this is the Eagles, these are the divisions and whatnot. And I love it when you teach somebody who doesn't normally watch football and they call out the illogical bullshit. They're like, so let me get this straight.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are a part of the fucking East. And I'm like, yeah, we don't really get that either. Like, there's just these things. And she's like, let me get this straight. I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers.
Jody did the same thing to me.
Yeah, and he's limping everywhere. Why is he in the game? Whereas in the NBA, if your freaking ankle's hurt, you don't play for 6 months. And he's hopping on one foot in an NFL game. I love people who watch sports and like shit just doesn't add up to them. It's hilarious.
Right. Oh yeah. When you see that deer in the headlights look, like what? Why is this happening?
Yeah. So NFC, if I had to rank, if I'm sitting here thinking like top three teams, top 4 teams, we haven't talked about the Vikings or the Bears, who have become competitive in the last couple of years, obviously. I'm going to have to go. I think the Eagles are still at the top. I think it will be a battle between the Cowboys, and I honestly think the Bears are going to compete.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely with the Bears. That defense
I see a battle.
Is no joke.
I think the Vikings are actually on the decline. And I can't put my finger on why. I think they just systematically just don't hold it together for some reason. The best chance they had was when they lost that game against the Seahawks. That was at their peak to me. And ever since then, and everybody says, oh, what about the Saints game or whatever? I was like, I think a lot of luck played into a lot of the way that game went. But I think when they played the Seahawks and they lost on that field goal and it was cold and icy and everything, I think that was the Vikings at their peak. That's when they were playing their best and their team was the most sound. I think they've been coming down, not like majorly, but I think they've been slowly degrading back down since that playoff game.
I'll tell you, I heard someone say, and this guy's a gambler, and so he likes to go and place wagers on a lot of games. And he said to me just before the Vikings-Bears regular season finale, when the Eagles needed the Bears to beat the Vikings, he says to me, he's like, Eric, relax. He's like, no sure bet in sports. Kirk Cousins losing in a big game. And I was like, okay. All right, I'm with you.
I mean, Jeff George shows up with a backwards hat and throws a freaking Hail Mary and wins the game. You're like, where the hell has this dude been? Retirement. So it looks like we've covered the NFC. We pretty much think, we're not biased or anything, that the Cowboys and Eagles are going to be at the top. Go freaking figure.
Right, no bias there at all.
So moving on to the AFC, top 4 teams, because I always say 4 from the NFC, 4 from the AFC. Those are the teams that matter.
Well, I mean, gosh, I guess there's that team in New England. They're pretty good. I
never
imagine
heard of them. Never heard of them.
Those New England, the Cheaters there in New England.
So New England Red Sox. I think that's what they're called.
Right, yeah. I think that's it.
Sox, yeah. No, okay. Obviously, that's stating the obvious. We obviously think. I agree. A lot of people are like, oh, this is the year they decline. No, they decline when those 2 mofos retire. That's when they decline.
Yeah, basically,
when those 2 mofos retire, I will officially be able to say I think they're going to actually be in decline. Until then, I think everybody is wishing on a star for them to play. I think they're going to retire when they both know they don't got. I don't think Brady's going to play until he looks like crap. He's going to play until that day he goes, I just don't feel like I could get to a Super Bowl anymore now. And then he'll retire. I don't think it's going to be like one day Brady just looks like garbage for 8 games in a row and retires. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I think he's going to have that feeling before one of the seasons and go, this season, I don't think I can do what I did last season. I'm going to go ahead and stop. So that's why I think as long as he's there, they are competitive, period.
I kind of draw the comparison to, in college basketball during the NCAA tournament, there was always I would always put in the number 1 seeds to advance to the second round before I did anything else. And someone would inevitably always say to me, well, Eric, one day 1 seed's going to lose to a 16 seed. And I'd say, yeah. And you know what? When that happens, I won't have picked it. So when the Patriots do fall off and decline, I'll just say I won't have predicted it.
Well, I mean, I think there's
Because
a lot of truth to
until
what
it
you say on
happens,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
not ready to write them off.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you say on that. I think the one team that I think if they continue what they're doing, that will always be chipping at their heels will be the Kansas City Chiefs. They obviously can show in Foxborough they can play ball. I mean, they lost by an edge in that game. They lost by an edge in the playoffs. So it shows that Andy Reid has a scheme that if the cars just slowly tip just slightly the other way, they don't even need a big thing, just slightly, right. They can pull off a win against them. Yeah, and I think that's the first time we've seen that in a long time other than the Patriots playing someone in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, or like when their run-ins with the Colts there for a couple of years when the Colts
when Manning.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, and it's funny because I'm rooting so hard for Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs to one day get Andy that Reid. Super.
Even as a Cowboys fan, when he was a coach, there's something humbling about Andy Reid. Is like he has that like grandfather style to him, where you just respect him. Mm-hmm. He's humble. Like I always felt like I could respect the Eagles when he was the head coach because of just the kind of man he was. And I always said, hey man, he's a guy that, you know, he's there to coach. He's been around the league. He's a pedigree coach. He's not just like an Eagles coach, you know. So I have a lot of respect for him. So right now, I have the Patriots ranked above Kansas City. Most polls are showing Kansas City ranked, and I think that's just because there's a wave of Kansas City love. But I'm like, hey, until the Titan is beaten, they're not beaten. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
So next two teams,
New England, Kansas City, 1 and 2. I'll tell you what, a team I really like, and it's one of the sexy picks that I've seen out there a lot, the Indianapolis Colts. I like Andrew Luck. I like Frank Reich. I like that whole system they have there.
The Colts to me, the Colts they feel like the Chargers. They feel like they got the quarterback. He's hot. He can do things, but there's this something around him seems to keep falling apart, and the coaching. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big fan of Irsay. Anytime I think of Irsay, I think of a drunk with a 40 ounce sitting in the corner playing a guitar. Like that's Irsay to me. And I just see bad decisions. Yeah, let
me be clear. I'm originally
handed to the GM, which affect the field. And Manning to me was a buffer of Irsay because he was kind of like, I can control the field. And because I'm commanding like that is the reason that'll work. So I don't know.
Yeah. And look, I spent a lot of my youth living on the eastern shore of Maryland where the Irsays are not very popular for the way they left Baltimore. So don't worry. I have no love for the Irsays.
Yeah. So you have Colts number 3 in the AFC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have Colts number 3.
I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore. I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore as my number 3.
Yeah. They were gonna be my number 4. Yeah.
Okay. So who's your well, that's your 4. I'm not really sure. You know, I'm real curious to see what happens with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now that they've finally done a coaching change, Cincinnati Bengals might finally get something rolling. I mean, it's not like they don't have any talent. You know, you got to remember they got the guy from Katy, Texas, one of my hometowns, played locally, state championship where I live. But I also don't think Andy Dalton is a top tier quarterback. I think he is like I put him in the range. Who would I go with? Kind of like a Case Keenum. Like he can play ball. He can play in some big moments. But he may not be the guy that takes you to the Super Bowl. I don't know. You know, I don't know. You know, with the Bengals having that Marvin Lewis for so long, I just don't know if you change offensively of them what they're actually capable of. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think there's something to what you're saying there. You know, Cincinnati, like it's going to be real curious what they're going to be able to do now with, you know, coaching change, what that environment's going to be like. Andy Dalton, I would equivalent him to, I think, a step above Kirk Cousins. I like him a little better than Cousins, but it's like after that, I don't know how many others I'd put him ahead of.
Okay.
You know, so like if we played the game, like down the whole NFL and just said, okay, do you like him or him or Eli Manning? Well, right now I like Andy Dalton more than Eli Manning.
Well, I like Eli Manning because he keeps the Giants mediocre, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I like him because he throws the ball to the other team a lot.
But I'm scared of is Barkley is somehow going to be able to start hiking the ball as a quarterback, and he's going to become one player. He's going to be the quarterback. He's going to hike it to himself. He's going to throw the ball and run the ball. We're going to have the option, and you're going to see Tommy Frazier, the run going on with Barkley with the way he's talented. So that's our picks, AFC and NFC. Everything is subject to change, obviously, because preseason's coming up. I was like, injuries are going to happen, and trades, and all that stuff. So I just wanted to do our first show, kind of like how we see the NFL as a whole. In the future, Eric's going to lead most of these segments. I just wanted to run our first one with looking at the NFL in its entirety. That way everybody could kind of get an idea of like me and your mentality about how we see the NFL in general. So I'll let you close out the show.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jay. This is something, like I said, we've been talking about doing because you and I, it's nothing for on my drives home from work to get on the phone and spend an hour and a half just talking football. And if I called you today on my way home, it was about a 2-hour drive home. It was as frustrating as anything, but right. Which led into a frustrating evening trying to set up this whole thing. But I'm glad we got around here. We got on YouTube and we're killing it. This is gonna be our home now, here.
Yep. And I'm glad from a technical standpoint, YouTube makes things really easy, really seamless. So it'll be easy to put up and embed and sending the stuff anywhere. And if any of you guys want to leave comments below, if you think we're wrong, you don't like our picks, you got your own picks, or if there's something we just didn't talk about, or there's a subject you want to see us talk about, just leave it in the comments below. I'm going to try to advertise this to some of my people. I now have 70,000 subscribers on my other channel. So hopefully we start getting some people in there. We're obviously going to post these on our Facebook channel as well, Mike Sports. It's funny, when I came with Mike Sports, my original idea was Mick, because Eric's Irish. So I was thinking Mick Sports, but Mike Sports, because I always have a mic in front of me on all my videos. So, and it just kind of worked out that we have a Mick and a Mike. So, that's not my.
It's going to work out.
Yeah, that's where I kind of got the idea from. So, anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Hopefully, everything goes a lot smoother next time, and we're on time. We're going to try to run most of our shows at 7:30 or 8 o'clock every Wednesday. Talk to you later, Eric.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Happy football.